Hi everybody, welcome back to the Chapter 9 study guide videos. In this video we will finish up the worksheet that we started in the prior Chapter 9 study guide. We left off calculating the employer's payroll taxes and writing the journal entry to record the employer's payroll tax expense. And in this journal entry, we'll then calculate the withholdings to be taken from the gross wage for each employee and the net paycheck for each employee, and then total from the company's point of view. Then after that, we'll write the journal entry to record the salaries for the month of November. Again, this is a review, so I think that you're up to this. I'll just caution you that this is pretty straightforward calculation here, except for Arturos, FICA, Social Security tax. Be careful with that one. All the rest of it is pretty straightforward. So go ahead and fill out this schedule, putting down the gross wage, all of the withholding, and instead of making you look up the federal income tax withholding on withholding tables and the state income tax withholding on state withholding tables, I'm just giving you a straight percentage of gross that you can use for the purposes of this exercise. So go ahead and complete this schedule. And then start the video again to check your work. Okay, the gross wages or gross salaries for the month of November for each of the employees was given to you on page 1 of this exercise. $1,900 for John Snyder, $1,800 for Mary Davis, and $11,500 for Jose Arturos. And that is where these numbers came from. Add them across, and from the company's point of view, they have a gross wages and a gross wage expense of $15,200 for the month of November. Then the employees are also responsible for paying some taxes. They usually have to pay federal income tax, which, as I said before, is usually taken from a payroll withholding table. But to make things simple in this example, I just said calculate it at 20% of gross. And that's what we have for each of these columns. 1,900 times 20%, 1,800 times 20%, 11,500 times 20%. Social Security tax. The employer and the employee must both pay 6.2% of gross wages up to the wage base. And the wage base given to you this year in this problem was $127,300. So the amount of salaries subject to Social Security tax for each of these employees were calculated in the last video. $1,900 for John Snyder, $1,800 for Mary Davis, and only $2,800 for Jose Arturos. So the Social Security taxes for each of these, 6.2% of gross wage for Snyder, 6.2% of gross wage for Davis, but not 6.2% of gross wage for Arturos, because Arturos has already exceeded the wage base during the month of November. Therefore, wages subject to Social Security tax for Arturos were $2,800, as calculated in the prior video, times the 6.2% tax equals $173.60 of Social Security tax that Arturos must pay. Add the three columns together, and from the company's point of view, the amount of Social Security tax to be withheld from each employee's paycheck is $403. Medicare tax, there is no limit. There is no wage base. And the company must pay 1.45%, and each employee must also pay 1.45% on their gross wage. So Medicare tax is calculated at 1.45% times gross salary for each one of the employees, and add across to find the total that the company must withhold from all their employees. State income tax, again, you normally look at payroll withholding tables for the state to calculate the amount of state income tax to withhold from each employee's salary. However, to make this problem simple, I said just use 6% of gross. And that's what these numbers are. They're 6% of the gross wage for each of the employees added across means that the company must withhold $912 in the month of November from all of their employees for state income tax. The total withholding for each of their employees then is a combination of federal income tax, Social Security tax, Medicare tax, and state income tax. That's what these numbers are. So the net paycheck then for each employee is the gross wage minus the amount of total withholding equals the net paycheck for each employee. The last part, Part 5, asks you to write the journal entry to record the November salaries. And you need to assume that they're not going to be paid in the month of November. They will be paid the first few days of December. So go ahead and write that journal entry. Then start the video again to check your work. Again, if you've laid your schedules out well, the journal entry will literally fall out of your schedule. We're going to debit salaries expense for $15,200. We're going to credit each one of these taxes payable, and we're going to credit salaries payable for this number. And so the journal entry looks like this. Debit salaries expense, $15,200. Credit federal income tax withholding payable, $3,040. Credit FICA Social Security taxes payable, $403. Credit FICA Medicare taxes payable, $220. Credit state income tax withholding payable, $912. And credit salaries payable, $10,624.60. That should be 40 cents. Yes, this journal entry is correct. Well, that's all for this video and for the Chapter 9 study guide videos. See you next time.